then they've had both Allie and Charlotte on the team have had amazing success, but it was because they got that inner passion going. Yeah.
2024, we talked about goals before. What else has been going on? Because I know in your business right now, you're starting to add stuff in, or we're starting to have it kick off. You texted me earlier about training and coaching.
Yeah.
What's been going on with that?
Well, my team is really a training and coaching company.
Okay.
And so a lot of the agents come on and they're kind of new, which I would love to have a seasoned person too, because I'm needing a listing agent. But it is a lot of fun because you get to see so much growth in those individuals, and I think that's where my highest excitement is when I see someone who doesn't read a book all of a sudden has finished a self-help book,
Right.
or someone that is a little nervous about making phone calls and then you see them calling people, so it's very rewarding.
Yeah. Are you the hype man in your company when it comes to your team? Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
For me, I'll get invested into either reading a book or learning something new, and I think I get this from my mother. We can't help but want to spread that out, and then we also get encouraged to see that they will apply themselves and put in the time to learn it too, especially if it's going to help them grow in business or in their personal life. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I get the feeling. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you can see in our office, we're still trying to change a couple of things up. We moved here last year, back in September. This place was a mess. I think it used to be some kind of art studio at the time. So the girl that we were talking to, her name's Maggie. She owns these buildings here. And we told Maggie what we wanted to do. She gave us a really good deal. It was like, you should, as long as you fix it, clean it up, take care of the place, pay your rent on time, we'll work with you. So we got a crew in here. And as you can see, we've got furniture that doesn't match and multiple filing cabinets, and we're getting these dividers in. So we look like a startup company. But having a place to come to and work rather than just out of the living room back at home or out of my car, it's helped me out quite a bit.
Yeah, I was listening to podcasts and it said that the real estate teams where everybody come in every day
Mm-hmm.
sold double the houses of the teams that worked from home.
Really?
And I thought that's so interesting. It must be like the positive energy of each other, of encouraging each other. So I thought that was kind of fascinating.
It's got to be. Yeah, you can bring everybody in, change the atmosphere a little bit, and then also the attitude. It can make a massive difference in a company.
Yeah, absolutely.
So another thing we've been working on, I've been curious about yours, finding out our mission in business. Mm-hmm. And also our core values. What have you learned so far? And can you help me out with mine sometime? Because we're still trying to figure it out. But we got an idea, but I'm sure I would like to adopt a few of them from others that are doing well in this industry. So.
Yeah, I'd be happy to share with you our core values.
Okay.
And it's interesting because I think not everybody that comes on the team are going to have all the core values, but if they're willing to keep growing
Mm-hmm.
and working towards that, one of ours is coachable, and then when you look at it, the average person is not coachable.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're willing to be just somewhat coachable, just little by little, I think there's been times in my life where I paid coaches to help me in real estate, and I would be stuck around something.
Right.
And they would stick with me and keep coaching me until I become coachable.
Well, I had somebody when I was right on the edge of wanting to make a lifestyle change. And I'm wondering if it's the same Jennifer Hunt that you had mentioned before. She's also a life coach.
Yeah, it's the same.
It is?
It
Jennifer's
is.
great.
Yeah, she is great.
I went to her and I wound up just like opening up and spilling everything that was going on in my life and what I want to do. And she's like, first off, I'm not a therapist. She's like, I get it. You're motivated and ambitious, but also I know you're trying to unload a bunch of stuff. And I've noticed I'm kind of like my father where I'm just going to spill everything out and then eventually I'll organize it and let you know what I need. Mm-hmm. She stayed with me and gave me like a 3-hour session and just worked with me on writing some stuff out. And that's when I eventually had my vision in place as for what I wanted to do with my life. Coaching helps. Eventually, I applied it. I walked home with notes, and it took me maybe a month and a half before I actually started applying the methods and strategies that she was giving me, and then start building a routine for myself to get where I wanted to be. So, thanks to Jennifer, I eventually was able to apply it and do something with it.
Yeah,
Being
she's
coachable is so important.
It is.
Yeah.
It is important,
Wow.
and a lot of times when I have several coaches now, and when I can feel the resistance,
Mm.
then I'll just pray about it,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes I can still be resistant to some things, especially if it's pushing me out of my comfort zone, or that what you talked about, that people pleasing there,
Right.
like if I've got to, when it comes to other people,
Yeah.
because like you, I just really love people.
Yeah, it's why is it? It's a blessing and a curse to love and have the willingness to want to help and to please others, while also at the same time we find ourselves not knowing how to organize it and prioritize it in a way to know what to do and when to set a boundary. And I did that for 9 years of my life until
Yeah.
I eventually was like, wait a minute, no, I want to help you, and my heart wants to go out to helping you, but I didn't know how to set boundaries, and I didn't know how to say no.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! So, and that messed with me in business with this space, because everybody that reached out to me was like, "I want a house." I was almost willing to cut corners and break rules in order to help them out, even though they weren't qualified. They barely had the income, but the fact that they needed something so bad, and I just couldn't help it. After hearing their sad story, or they've got multiple kids, and they don't know where they're going to be living next, and I'm like, I don't know how to be okay. I want to help you, but I feel like I'm going to hurt myself in order to help you. And so now I've learned not to be a people pleaser, but be more of a problem solver without having to cut corners or break rules. I try to be more resourceful, and come up with new strategies to where I can find a third company to help me out, make sure they get the financing they need in order to have a house or to have residency.
Yeah.
So you find yourself being not only resourceful, but as far as being a problem solver, I'm missing the word, and it might come back to me later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's in this business. I like helping people. It can hurt but it can hurt me. So
Yeah, we have we don't have part-time people.
yeah,
And there's a guy that wants to be part-time, and I really love for him to be part of my team. But I have to call him and I have to say, "Sorry, we don't have we eventually, in 6 months or a year, we'll have a system together where we can bring on part-time people. But right now we don't, and we don't have the time that's going to take to build that system out."
I'm curious, as far as not having part time, do we have something we're aiming towards right now, which we just need everyone focused and all in, putting in the same amount of hours?
But right now we have other goals that are priority above
Right.
getting part-time people
Gotcha.
on our team. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we're figuring it out. We're not as consistent, but we're starting to get a system in place for us.
Mhm.
Now, between my family, they still want to balance out business, but also be available for ministry, which mom and dad, they're out of town right now. In Florida, they're going to be ministering for a pastor in Lake Placid. His name's Travis Matney, and they're doing a thing called the Bible and Finances. And they're going to give a series for the next 4 days. And usually, and I know that I know that they do this. They've already made it very clear that as much as they're going to be in real estate and investing, that they are still going to put time aside and be away. So I'm organizing and working out the kinks on how can all of us be here, and then also keep things consistent with business when we'll have team members away. I'm working that out. I'm working out the kinks with it, but we're getting somewhere. And Michelle's been a huge help. You met her up front. So we're figuring it out. I still feel like we're in our baby steps. I don't know how long have you been in business? Because we've only been in it for like 4 years, and it still feels like we're new to all of this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I started my team 3 years ago,
yeah.
so it does feel very new to all this too. Been in business for a really long time, since 1994
Okay.
as a realtor, but the team is different.
Yeah.
And like you said, developing, strategies for when people are on vacation to make sure everybody's taken care of, and
Right.
making sure that we can put the client's needs.
You've been in it since 1994, but you had your team for 3 years.
Uh-huh.
Were you independent before that? You've been independent, or were you contracted with somebody
I was
else?
just a single agent, and I
Yeah.
worked for a company.
Okay.
And I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But then I got to where, I really want to pour into other people. And I
Right.
thought about being a coach for Mike Ferry. But then I thought this here, like, really, when I really came to know that I was supposed to start a team through prayer. And I was at the point, it didn't make any sense,
Mm-hmm.
because I just wasn't someone who could have a team.
Right.
I couldn't even speak up about my pool being green
Mm-hmm.
and call them and say, hey, my pool's green. And now, I never guessed that God was going to heal all that within me.
Right. Right.
But over the next 6 months after I heard that I was supposed to start a team, and that was probably 4 years ago when that happened.
Wow.
And all that just changed within me.
Now you're out with a team. Before I met you, I'd seen your billboards all over the place. I was like, man, this lady's not only advertising, but according to her billboard, she's kicking it. She's doing really good.
Yeah.
And then I wound up asking around about you because we were still trying to network and get familiar with other people that were in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, who do we talk to?
Yeah.
Who do we want to buddy up with and get to know, and that can give us some tips on this? And eventually we bumped into you at one of our little, I call it hot spots, but our little networking thing that we had tried to set up a few months ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
investor group. That
Yeah.
was really fun.
We got to keep doing that. I know
Yeah.
we'll get to it eventually. We'll find out how we want to, and I think the why is the most important part, right? Aside from just getting to meet other people that's in the industry, but why we want one of those in the first place. Based off of I'm picking the book back up, the Start With Why by Simon Sinek.
Uh-huh.
And I've asked my family if they would start reading it so that anything that we're wanting to start up, we have a big why. It's for why we want to.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some other good stuff. Leaders Eat Last. I don't know if you've heard of that one. I've got a copy if you want to borrow it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's great stuff. I thought about this earlier. Wait a minute. So if you've only had your team for you've had it going on for about 3 years. 4 years ago, you came up with the idea.
Mm-hmm.
You've been in real estate since '94. What was the shift? Why did you jump into real estate? If you don't mind telling me.
Why did I get
Why
into
did you get into being a real estate agent?
a real estate agent? Okay.
Sorry, I structured that question a little weird.
I was super naive, and I was a teenager, and I was super naive.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, what would be easy that I wouldn't have to go to college for? Because I was also looking at becoming a chiropractor.
Mm-hmm.
My stepfather was a chiropractor, and then my uncle was a realtor. And I thought, this will be easy. And, it was overnight success, I just got
Really?
into real estate and didn't make any money for about 8 years. And,
Yeah.
and now it's really funny when I'm talking to realtors and they're like, yeah, I just want to be a name brand like you. And then all the business will come. I'm like, yeah, but it works so backwards than that. I knocked on doors for 20 years. And, I knocked on so many doors for those 20 years. So I think it's easy that, it's hard. It's easy when you're looking at it to not see the effort that goes in for other people.
Now here 8 years before you started seeing any money. Would you have to say the theme is having endurance in this industry if you want to see it become something?
Yeah, I did have endurance, and I really think it's also because I was doing a lot of self-development work. I'd come from a childhood that was extremely traumatic and extremely hard, and I got into the business and I didn't have a lot of self-esteem, and I would say one of the things that you need is that self-esteem. And confidence. But I didn't realize what a gift God had given me in being resilient. And I probably I score in resiliency about as high as anybody I've ever met.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I wondered, I've noticed, and I was talking to my dad about this last time we were on the podcast. Resilience, having that endurance, having a goal set in mind, and then also how much you invest into yourself as far
Yeah.
as self development.
Uh-huh.
I've noticed those go hand in hand in this industry,
Mhm.
like so much. And some to the point now, I will try my best to go to at least 4 to 5 conferences if I can, or pick up some books or have more coaching sessions because it's something that's constantly growing. Like if you want to be more and if you have bigger goals, you need to have yourself all the tools in place to make it happen.
Absolutely.
So yeah, well that's neat.
Uh-huh.
That's neat.
Yeah.
With your team now working on your coaching and training, you're going to start anybody that's interested in the industry, they'll just reach out to you and you can train them on. You'll educate them along with training and coaching them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We have meetings 3 times a week. The Monday morning meeting is usually around accountability, or it's around, just being in the right mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
then we go into skills training on Wednesday and Friday. This Wednesday, what we did was how to help the buyer through the home inspection
Mm-hmm.
process, because most new agents, they're not going to be able to lead the buyer through the home inspection process, and that's where a lot of deals fall out right there, because people, they don't know what they're not educated in what all these little small things are, so you have to kind of help them get past that.
Right. Right. Well, that seems to be a common seems to be a common thing amongst those that are wanting to buy homes. They're not too educated on the process of how it all works, or they're limited to their understanding of how they can acquire or be a homeowner.
Yeah.
Educating your clients is something that we are still figuring out on how to help them.
Uh-huh.
Because everybody, they've got the income and they're
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm looking for a house, and walking them through it and explaining to them how they can, what all they need, and also how simple it can be. And I guess with you representing people, you've got do you have a few more steps that you've got to go through compared to, we pretty much just buy them ourselves and then do like for sale by owner
Uh-huh.
in our strategy. But when
Yeah.
you're also having to represent a seller, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we people that need help getting a loan. We've got a guy named Justin Berger with
Hmm.
I think it's Grisham Mortgage, and he's very, very patient with people. If they've got things against their credit, he'll
Right.
he'll coach them, and then we also stay in touch with them. Big, and I mean, remember one lady, she had a very prominent type of job, and she had a pretty messed up credit, and he worked with her for a year. We followed up with her for a year, and then she bought a house.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and that's so rewarding,
Yeah, it is.
especially when they're willing to do the work.
Right. Right. And you know how serious they are.
Mhm.
I had a seller. He didn't have. He had reached out to me, had a house available. I didn't know that he wasn't the executor of the home at the time.
Uh-huh.
I was like, well, there's a couple things we need to take care of first. It's like, you've got to have the rights to sell. And he was like, well, my family's okay with it. It's like, well, here's the paperwork that needs to be taken care of first. I didn't hear from him like a year and a half. And then he gave me a call last week out of the blue. It was like, hey, I did all of the work. Would you still like to buy it at the price that we agreed upon last time? I was like, absolutely. I sure will. I was kind of shocked at first, which it taught me a lesson. Don't judge too quickly, because people will do, just because you're not seeing them putting in the effort or hearing from them all the time. Some people can shock you. But yeah, it was great. It was awesome. And it wound up being an easy experience after that, because he already knew what to do. And he had filled out the same forms and paperwork with me last time. So we just brought it all back up. I got it advertised last week. Hopefully we can make something happen with that.
Yeah.
With your coaching team, you mentioned mindset. I'm going to be all over the place. So
Sure.
just bear with me.
Yeah.
But you mentioned mindset first and then developing skills. Are they already educated in the real estate business, or?
No, not if they're new.
Okay.
It just takes a while. I mean, they're gonna learn every single day.
Right.
So it is a lot to learn.
Right.
But if they have if they have the capacity to come in and show up and do the work, they can be very successful fairly quickly.
Well, you're doing the right thing by coaching, giving them the right mindset, along with giving them the skills. Because there's so many new young agents I've met. They've went through the courses. They understand the codes and the law, right?
Mhm.
Get familiar with how the marketing side works, and yet they still don't have the people skills. you know,
Yeah.
like like, or they're not even familiar with the business. They are just certified to do it. So the fact that there's coaching companies available to walk them through how to be a successful real estate agent. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. Why does it seem to be um, common for those that get certified to become an agent? They're like thrown out there to the wolves when they join or sign up with companies to represent them. Is there about? I mean, is that common amongst most of them, or has it just been in my experiences the
No,
past few years?
I think that there are some companies that do training, but there are probably more that don't do very
Mm-hmm.
much training and
Mm-hmm.
don't do very much coaching.
It's usually those that are hungry. They're going to self-teach if they need to make themselves successful.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's kind of, like, I was in a really good group. I have a lot of gratitude for where I started out. I started out Century 21 Service
Mm-hmm.
Realty, and it was with Betty Higdon. And I have a lot of gratitude for her because she was a broker that had integrity. And so she taught me that, and she taught
Mm-hmm.
me good business ethics.
Right.
And I'm really grateful that she was my broker. But, like, and I learned a little bit from a lot of the agents that were there, but my learning was slow.
Mm-hmm.
Where we're more of a kind of a blast them like a water hose type
Yeah.
of learning structure.
Well, intensives can be very effective for those that have the willingness to stay up and make it happen.
Uh huh.
Yeah. We're my father and I have been working on um, uh, one of our little side hustles right now. I've been working with those that are getting into real estate investing, and they know what to do. Well, I should say no, they don't know what to do. They are familiar with the business. They are familiar with how it works, but after they've been educated on all the documents that they will need and the multiple exiting strategies or acquiring strategies to get a home, yet they haven't been taught like what to do next. And it's like 70% of students in real estate investing, they'll get the education, they'll have the teacher, the guru that gives them all of the paperwork and packages that they need, all of the videos and tapes, books to read. So they understand the process, but as far as like what they are to do next or even how to set up their own company, they're lost. And if they had someone to just take them by the hand to say, here's what you need to do, and this is how easy it is, and let's get you in touch with a realtor or a lawyer and provide the proper documentation and walk them through your exiting strategies, then we can move on from here. There seems to be a need for coaching and training these days more than anything else in this industry.
So it sounds like it's really similar to real estate. 89% of people that get into real estate are out in 18 months.
Yeah.
So it sounds like 70% of investors are.
Yeah.
Is that
No,
correct?
it is. Well,
Yeah.
you notice we've got every guru and real estate education company out there, right? You've got all of these influencers on YouTube that can teach you how, and they'll educate you on the multiple strategies. But then as far as coaching, I think coaching is completely different from teaching, right? It's laying out a plan for them, whatever their goal might be, and then walking them through the first few steps. The coaching, the same as like for in fitness. Well, I can be familiar with getting my heart rate up, doing a little bit of cardio. Maybe I can run on the treadmill or I can go and lift weights. But I wish someone had a plan for me. Tell me what I'm doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, right? Strategize for me. And that's where that coaching coming in with real estate can be very effective, because almost everybody, they might have an idea of what exercising is, but they don't actually have an exercising plan and then know how much time they should put into it and what other areas that they can focus on. Everybody would like to be a little bit healthier. Not everybody knows and they know exactly what it might take. They just don't know how to start or how to go about getting there. So with this big need, and noticing that a lot of people find themselves not staying in it for very long, this is a new part, I think, for 2024, where we want to help those that have spent way too much money on the education, have watched every YouTube video. They just need somebody to coach them through it.
Well, even, I took this course and I spent a lot of money on it, and it was actually just way over my head.
Yeah.
I was like, and I didn't
Yeah.
have the time to give the course. It
Hmm.
probably, like running two companies, I probably put about 10% of the time
Hmm.
into it. And most of the courses you buy, you get them later and then you can go. But this one here, once it was over, you're timed out, which now I'll know to ask that question,
Right.
because most, like, the real estate courses I buy, like, I can just keep listening to them over and over.
Right.
And so that makes it great because that repetition really, really helps.
Between courses that you can go back to and then a community, they've changed this up recently. Well, there's still a few of these gurus out there. They give you a course and then it expires.
Yeah.
But I come across some of that old work where I can go back to it and re-educate myself if I need to.
Good.
Renew my mind in that. The new one that they're starting to introduce is like these communities, online communities, where you can go back in and ask questions
Okay.
and then get feedback from everybody else that's learning right along with you. And then they'll have like these live videos with coaches that are able to walk you through some of that stuff,
That's
which is
awesome.
nice.
Are
That's
you
something new they're doing, and I like it.
have you guys started your coaching company?
Mm-mm.
No.
Nope, we're still working out a few more kinks.
Okay.
We've put some of it into practice, and hopefully, I'm aiming towards the end of July that we're going to start bringing on students. I should say, bringing on people that want to be coached. And my favorite part about this is they know the business. They've been educated on it. They just want somebody to help them reach their goals. And
Yeah.
that's the part I like.
And when you guys were having the REI
Hmm.
classes and stuff, like, a lot of the people would say, well, I had started as an investor and then I just really got burnt out. I really didn't, I just felt stopped. And so I kind of saw that that was a pattern with a lot of folks that were there. I mean, there were some other people that are doing great things, but there were quite a few of them that just felt like they'd kind of gotten burnt out because they were on an island by themselves.
Yeah. What's from your analysis, hearing people seem to give that same testimony? Is there anything else? Is there another like common denominator as for why they're not able? Is it the lack of, I should say, just needing somebody to hold their hand and help them get through it? Is there more information that they're lacking as far as just needing more training or a lack of resources?
It's really
Do
a
we
good
know?
question because, I was thinking I've got a lot, almost all my friends are also, like, all my closest friends are also real estate investors. And, they all have a different strategy. Like, one of them, she just keeps buying another property, and then she buys another property, and she has so many properties, and a lot of them are paid for. And so that makes it so that she can just be a great mother to her family. So that's her strategy. And I have another friend that buys them and flips them, and then she is so stressed out when she's flipping them that she's just stays terrorized by
Right.
it. So, but and she's doing it. So I'm
Right.
still proud of her that she's able to do something that just scares the bananas out of her.
Right. Eventually, it won't anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just keep it up until you get familiar with it. Yeah. Yeah.
Eventually, it won't be like, okay, and I can't get a hold of my CPA, and how much
Right.
of my taxes are going to be, and da da da. Like,
I hear you.
yeah.
Wow. We're talking about um, you have the resilience. How do you help somebody that's dealing with burnout? What is your strategy?
I think it's.
Share that with me.
I think it kind of goes back to what you were talking about. Is with finding people's why.
Mhm.
Like, if their why is big enough, they're gonna find a how.
I agree.
Like, and I went through burnout one time, and that's when the market changed back in 2009. I didn't think it was possible. I heard people say that, and I wasn't really in the point in my life where I had a relationship with a higher power.
Hmm.
So, but how I got that turnaround, I just I made myself listen to 2 hours of positive stuff each day. And, my friends that were realtors, like I had one year where my business went to half. It was all mindset.
Mm.
Because but 50% of the realtors got out of the business during that time.
Right.
So the fact that I endured that and my income went to half for one year and then I got back up. But I would just, now, if I was in burnout, I would take as much time as I needed to renew. I would put a lot of time in my schedule for that renewal.
I love it. Make your why so big enough to where even when you feel tired, it's worth getting through it. And then along the way, even though you're exhausted, give yourself some reason, like throw yourself into a positive mindset, motivate yourself, and hang out with positive people to
Yeah.
get there.
It's
That's what
so
that's what I'm taking from this right
It's
now.
so easy for me to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning because I'm so excited about building this team and helping totally transform people's lives. Now, most people that come on I mean, most people will choose not to be on my team because it's tough.
Hmm.
It's going to be the toughest real estate company in Paducah. I know that. I've started trying to talk people out of it. And one lady, she said, "No, I'm coming to your team. I've already heard about it. And I'm coming." And I thought, I wonder when I sit down with her if she's really going to say that,
Right.
because I know it's tough, but they can completely change their lives also.
Well, when you set that kind of expectation and then atmosphere, then you're basically you're filtering out the losers, pardon me, but you're surrounding yourself with more winners where if you're going to get into this is what I expect of you and this is what's happening. And then you don't have to find yourself dealing with losses and as many firings, right? Because you've set that kind of atmosphere and expectation.
Yeah, and I'm okay with people, the average realtor is going to sell 4 to 5 houses a
Yeah.
year. And there are companies that I think are good in town, and I will say these two companies I think are really good.
Hmm.
But, they have a different business model than I
Hmm.
have. I want to see transformation because that's what lights me up, and that's what gets me up and out of bed every morning is that, and I know I'm going to have to transform too. I'm going to have to be completely embarrassed of the person I am today
Mm.
in 3 years. I want to look back in 2, 3 years and go, wow, can't believe I was her back then. So I want to really change who I'm being as a person.
Now, for someone that doesn't document or journal their life to where they can look back and be embarrassed of that person, that's why it's so important to document how much work you're putting in every year so that you can look back and have something to measure against,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Something
absolutely.
we're learning now. It's like
Uh-huh.
actually keep track of your numbers so that you can know where to improve. And for your team, you said, was it 4 to 5, the average realtor?
4 to 5.
What's your number, if you don't mind me asking? What do you expect yourself to do?
The average so far has been of all the agents come through, 23 transactions is the average. But you look at little Allie girl here, and she's on track to do 40,
Oh my goodness,
and she's
Allie.
28 years old.
Ooh.
Yeah, and
Wow.
yeah, she's 28 years old, and I mean, I'm super proud of her. And
Yeah.
then, Charlotte, she can do 40 transactions this year too because they're both ready to hustle. And then I've got a young guy on my team, and I'm really excited about him
Hmm.
because I coach him. I've got two young guys. I coach them. They listen to everything I say, and I'm like, that makes my heart happy when I
Right.
have people that are that coachable. And sometimes it might take them a week. If I say, "This is what you need to work on," and they'll go, "No, I don't need to work on that." And do I really? And then they go ask people in the community. They go ask their friends. Yeah, you need to work on that.
Mm.
And then they come back a week later, and I'm all in. I'm going to work on
Wow.
this.
That's
And
awesome.
a lot of times it is like just a personality trait they need to work on, which, almost everybody has different things within their personality they need to work on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 There's plenty of room for improvement each
Uh-huh.
year. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, Kim, I'm curious. As you have been working with agents what is something all of you guys have in common? What do you are is it that diverse
I would
and
say
personality?
that's very diverse. I
Okay.
mean, who is going to make great realtors? I mean, bartenders are going to make good realtors.
I can see that.
Waiters are going to make good waitresses are going to make good realtors.
Yeah.
But you do see a lot of people that retire out of being a teacher or a principal. So yeah, it's a large amount of diversity in being real estate agents.
And as far as like, so coming from different occupations, but still, it's either quick paced, good with people, can work with all of them. For those that when they retire, is it something else to do? Just bring in an extra income,
Yeah, I
or
think a lot of people get into it just for something to do.
right?
Yeah, I remember I've worked at several real estate companies where there was probably half the people were retired and they weren't looking to earn an income. They were looking to just something to keep them busy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've just talked to a girl. She called me up the other day, and one of the smartest people I know. She just graduated from college. I believe she was valedictorian in her class.
Awesome.
And she threw me off because she was studying to be a veterinarian, and she still had to go through a few more years of vet school. But she shifted after graduating. She's like, I'm getting into real estate. Why? With you being that smart, like, I get it. The market's looking pretty great. The economy is at a place right now where people are looking for homes, and real estate will always be available. But for somebody to just shift it so quickly, I've seen that. I've seen that happen quite a bit. Where some of your smartest people, I knew of he was a rocket engineer for like 20 years, and he found himself needing to make more money, so he studied to get his realtor's license and then got into it and wound up dominating in like dominating in his market. He lives in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh,
And
neat.
he mentored me for a little bit. He did such a fantastic job. Like, from a rocket engineer to getting into real estate, bud, you would think it's crazy unless you're in it yourself. Then you can see the possibilities.
The coach I have right now is in Dayton, Ohio, and she had been an attorney and decided to get into real estate, so they may know each other.
If you were brought into a group of people that's not really sure what they were doing, why? Give me the pitch on why someone should get into real estate.
Well, you really get to serve a lot of people,
Yeah.
and you get to really guide them through a extremely tough process,
Mm.
and through systems we've made it a little bit easier on them, and we can kind of let them know what they're going through, because you don't realize that most people are not like you and me that are buying and selling properties on very often.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Why is the process so hard? Why has it become so hard for people to become homeowners? I mean, I've got some answers myself, but I
Now
want to
the
hear from you.
prices are higher, so
Right.
that's making it tougher on people.
Yeah.
That the prices have gone quite high. So that's
Yeah.
for my niece, who's an engineer. She's buying a house in Lexington right now. So it's been fun, and she wants to do everything perfect, and but it's been fun kind of watching her go through the process. But it's tough because for her price range, she's not getting.
So, with the price range being the obstacle, that means that it also people are going to need to look into financing, and financing in order to go through that process is difficult too. It can be difficult too, just because of the multiple layers of red tape you got to get through in order to get approved.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Is there any other obstacles that make it a little bit difficult for just the average Joe to go and buy a house, aside from prices and
There's
banks?
low inventory right now.
Really?
There's not a lot for people to choose from. I was talking to a family that's moving here from Texas, and they're coming in April, and they're like, "Wow, back in December, there were quite a few properties that met our needs, and they're coming in the 1st of April." And I said, the toughest part is you're not here. I can tell them that I'll be happy to do video tours for them if they want to do
Right.
that, and then they could come in and see it before they close, put a contingency of that type. But it does make it, I said, a lot of times what you're looking for is going to sell, right away, because they just want 2 to 3 acres and they need it under the 400,000. So there's not a whole lot of properties, but they're very open to where they live. So they could live in Callaway County, McCracken County, Graves County.
Yeah.
So that makes it a little bit easier.
Right. Right. I think I don't know if we're dealing with some that's got this holding mentality right now, which is why the inventory has been so small. I don't know if we're expecting another jump in the next couple of months where they just want to hang on a little bit longer and get a better price out of their house. I haven't been able to navigate through that to recognize what's going on just yet, but inventory's small right now. Well, it's a little short. I'm getting a lot of I'm getting fixer-uppers, or I'm getting landlords that want to retire and they want to liquidate. That's what I'm getting. But usually those homes will need to be fixed up.
Yeah.
So my next move is you either find somebody that can do work for equity, or you find another investor that you're willing to sell it to. Like for me right now, in order for me to keep things going. But as far as like the typical homeowner, they're going to be picky, which they're allowed to be. It's their money. And it's very difficult to find specifically what they want right now because there's not much available.
Yeah, and the typical buyer is going to want turnkey. They're not going to want the kind of properties that you or me would buy.
Right.
That they can't, even if they're cluttered, it's hard for people to see past clutter.
Yeah, I know some of our listeners, they're not going to be too familiar with Paducah. Here's why I'm hanging on a little bit longer. Paducah is growing.
It is growing
so much.
so fast.
And I've noticed the workers that are coming in having to live out of hotel rooms, construction workers.
Wow.
Just because they're building factories in western Paducah and the surrounding area right now, which means more employees are going to be coming in, more workers. That's more homeowners. So we're going to see a shift in the market pretty soon, I believe, from what I've been seeing. And I've talked to a couple of the officials downtown, city officials, that have been trying to keep me updated on like what to be looking for and what they see coming next. So something's happening pretty soon. And 2024 just so happens to be the year. Plus, we got out of the whole COVID mess, and those past 3 years just had everything dragging. I think people are finally getting into the norm and getting into the groove again. So with businesses building up all over the place. And then we've got our construction workers, which right now is like the best time for them. They're not wanting to stay permanently. They're just wanting to stay long enough to be able to get the job done, and then they're going to go back home. But they're looking for either rent-to-owns or rentals right now. Okay. And I can't find enough of them.
Yeah.
So if we know of somebody, we need to point them in that direction.
Sure.
I'm sure there's a finder's fee somewhere in there.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
So, Kim, for the listeners, tell them a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then also how do we get in contact with you if we're needing some training and coaching?
Yeah, my name's Kim Musgrave. I'm the owner of the Kim Musgrave team. It's a real estate training and coaching company. They come in and we do 4 days of onboarding, and we teach them what they're going to need, and then it's just like building the plane while it's up in the air. So the kids are going to be going out and showing houses right away. We've got a lot of opportunities for them, and I can be reached at 270-366-1770.
Awesome. And then as far as getting in contact with you, we'll make sure to have a link at the bottom and some of your contact information for those that want to pull it up later.
Yeah,
so
great.
Awesome. Great. Thanks for coming and joining us, being a part of this experience. We're figuring it all out, but thank you for what you shared. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It was a good time. Thanks, Kim.
Yeah.